I think we're good to go. Good evening. It's May 21st. We're in the Tom Baker Room of the City County Building. This is a special meeting of the Board of City Commissioners, and I'll call the meeting to order first, if we can call roll.
Commissioner Risch?
Here.
Commissioner Zanker?
Here.
Commissioner Connolly?
Here.
Commissioner Clary? Here. Mayor Schmitz?
Here, and I failed to state the time, roughly 5:15. Jason, if you want to make an introduction, and then we'll let the individuals here give their presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor. We are in this room tonight as a result of an effort that this group approved back in, I believe it was November of 2024. The City of Bismarck posted a request for proposals. It was packaged as an amenities project for the Bismarck Event Center, and it was an intentional kind of a vague statement with amenities because we wanted to see what the vision was of others that are in and around the community. And many of us have talked about the desire for more supporting features within the event center, particularly things like a hotel or other attractions that would cause people to come to this region, stay in this region, spend money here, infuse our economy, but ultimately invigorate some underutilized property in and around the event center. So the proposal was crafted in a way that only dealt with City of Bismarck property. We are not adjoining with any of the other private landowners or anything like that. We are simply addressing the parking lot that is directly adjacent to the exhibit hall and the arena on the southwest corner of the event center site. The team that you'll be hearing from tonight, I quickly looked at their proposal. The lead affiliates from each organization, if you combine all their years of experience, we're up to somewhere north of 115 years of experience, ranging from economic development to construction and architecture. And so I appreciate your willingness to entertain this proposal. I realize that this is a big decision moving forward. This is not something that we want to take lightly, and this is not something that we want to make any quick decisions on. But I can't help but think of Commissioner Zanker's comments a couple of weeks ago when we were in this room talking about being bold and making some significant choices for the event center going forward. Sorry to put you on the spot, Commissioner, but this is an opportunity to think big and think bold and think about what it would be, how we can activate the event center, a facility that, in my opinion, and many others would share, is quite possibly in the best location in this community possible because it is located between the largest regional shopping center at Kirkwood Mall and a very thriving downtown Bismarck that we have worked very intentionally over the last 20 years to help invigorate and revitalize. Having a facility like this with the seating and the capacity and the opportunities that it holds, I think we as a community are extremely fortunate, and I think this is a great opportunity for us to imagine what more that site could be. The proposal that's in front of you was the loan proposal that we received. Prior to the deadline in late February, I had been contacted by a couple of other different groups that were interested in it. However, for one reason or another unknown to me, they chose not to submit a proposal. So this is the one and only proposal that came to the City of Bismarck. I hope you've all had a chance to look through it. We put the original documentation on your desks last week, Tuesday, during our regular meeting. Tonight you will hear from a team that put this proposal together with a simple ask. And without any further ado, who's starting? Ryan Christensen with Adolphson and Peterson will be the lead person at the podium here. If you have any questions of staff, of the team here, of course, we'd be happy to try and answer those. Ultimately, what we would be looking for at the end of this is some sort of consensus and a direction on how best to move forward based on whatever information you need to make that decision. So without anything else, I'll get out of the way and let Ryan have it. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, first off, thanks so much for having a special meeting and kind of hearing our proposal tonight. Very excited to be able to present this information to you and kind of present our ideas and goals for things moving forward in regards to a hotel adjacent to the event center. The binder you've got in front of you, the first section has this presentation, that presentation. Second tab has kind of our draft developer offering. So we've started putting together sort of pamphlet of information that we can give prospective financiers to kind of help them understand, the needs of the city of Bismarck and kind of our ideas for the project. And then the last section there is our RFP response from back in February. And we're going to probably try to keep this, our team is going to try to keep this somewhat brief. The interest is really to get into a back and forth and sort of a dialogue with all of you folks, try to help answer questions and share all the things that we've learned over the past year. So I'm Ryan Christensen. I'm with Adolphson and Peterson Construction. I'm an executive with A&P. So my job is to manage the office we have here in Bismarck, and then I oversee all work in North Dakota. For this particular project, my role would be sort of general executive oversight. I'd also lead any sort of estimating or pre-construction efforts when we get to that point. And then as we move into construction, that would be my role. It'd be kind of be the lead of construction. We've also got Jeff Ubel here with Ubel Design. Jeff's been a huge part of this whole thing going forward. He's got a ton of experience, obviously, with the event center and has been a huge help. And Eric Hoffer is here with JLG. Also local architecture, it's been a great team to put together. We've been working on this together for about a year. And then Kevin Megstead with A&P is with us as well. Kevin leads up all of our business development with A&P. And for this project, he would really be the take charge of searching out that developer partner, plus really be the liaison between our team and the city. Again, any questions, stop me anytime. So kind of as we started this journey, it did not take long for us to understand that there was a definite desire, want, need for a hotel adjacent to the convention center. We talked with, Kevin's going to get into it a little more, but we talked with local business owners. You don't have to go too far to talk to a citizen that wants a new hotel. So the need was there, the interest was there, and that really got us interested in the opportunity, and we kind of blasted off. I'm going to go through these fast. We know there's a lodging gap, especially in that area of the city. It would be great to get another hotel, sort of a marquee, ideally a major flag, a Marriott, Radisson, something like that, but a major flag downtown. We believe that this hotel is going to add revenue for the convention center. It's going to complement the convention center and keep people coming and gain traction there. We've put together some flexible concepts that Jeff's going to talk to just a little bit. At this point, it's kind of a blank slate. We're open to all ideas. There's nothing set in stone. It's more of we really want this to be a team approach. What does the city need? What makes sense for that area? And then to integrate that with downtown. Like Jason mentioned, it's you couldn't ask for a better spot. It's a great place to go see a concert, to go to an event, close to the mall, close to a bunch of different restaurants and bars and stuff. So it kind of sets itself up for a good spot. And then it's more than a hotel; it's a community investment. We're very excited about this area of the city. We've talked to many different developers and different entities, and it seems like one of the things we keep hearing is we just need a spark. We need somebody to go first, and that's really our interest, is to go first and get this moving. So I will stop talking and turn it over to Jeff to talk just a little bit about the design.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. It's good to see you all. And so, again, I'll be brief with my comments. The concept that we're going to prepare, or that I'm going to review with you tonight, was one that was put together by our office in JLG in collaboration. And the intent behind this was not necessarily to solve the problem, but to more or less use it as a tool to explore the problem. We had identified a site which essentially came from the RFP that was issued, which is the lot that's right adjacent to the event center, so it's on the event center property. And from there, we wanted to look at what opportunities might be available on that piece of property. And so the concepts that you're going to see, and I won't get into a great amount of detail with them, the concepts that you see are ideas. Part of it is to explore the capacity of that site. Part of it is to explore what a hotel connection might look like back to the event center. Part of it is to look at what opportunities there are in that area of town that could engage with this piece of property. And so we really tried to push through a variety of different concepts and ideas, and that's what we've included in your packet. So we looked at four options or four different concepts. The first one was a hotel and convention space. The idea behind this was to certainly look at how many hotel rooms could potentially fit on this particular site, but also to look at what other convention space opportunities there might be that might be collaborative between the event center and the hotel. So we looked at things like breakout meeting room spaces, ballroom spaces, catering kitchen, those things that have been talked about for years as a necessity to that location. Maybe that's something that could be included in the hotel development in order to increase that collaboration between this potential project and that hotel. Option two, well, let me flip through here. So this was option one. In this particular case, we had, like I mentioned, convention space and approximately 160 hotel rooms across 6 floors. Option two was just strictly a hotel option. This would include your traditional ground floor hotel spaces, lounge, restaurant, lobby, fitness areas, those types of things, with a variety of different hotel room mixes. This, we were able to get a capacity of about 200 rooms-ish in this concept. Concept three looked at a hotel and a retail opportunity. So in this case, we were looking at opportunities to increase ground floor retail to activate 5th Street. In this option, again, we were hovering around 200 hotel rooms. And then option four, we wanted to take a look at opportunities for downtown living. And so this included some ground floor support spaces that were important to the hotel, but then we also looked at opportunities to add additional housing. So in this case, likely condominiums or apartments. In this case, we had 160 guest rooms and 18 condo apartments. And so, like I mentioned, the intent behind this was not necessarily to solve the problem, but to explore it. And so this gave us an opportunity to understand the type of use, and also in the event that we start having conversations with developers, we can start to give them a better sense of how much potential there is in this property, how big it is, and what the cost impacts of that might be down the road. And certainly we'll come back to this. If you have any questions, feel free to jot them down and save them for me, and I'll come back up here when you're ready. Kevin?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. As Ryan said, my name is Kevin Magstead. I do business development for Adolphson and Peterson Construction. Moving forward with the regards to the document that Ryan discussed for stakeholder engagement, we would go in and have already done to date a quick walkthrough and assessment of the facility and the site. We've also worked with the CVB on doing a market validation of what's out there, lost revenue, met or unmet lodging and demand. And on December of 24, we also had a community involvement session. What this is doing is putting together an advisory group that we looked throughout this and is added to the team. This advisory group would include MDU Resources, Basin Electric, Sanford Health, Bobcat, some local financial institutions, local developers, and et cetera. They've all expressed interest on need of added hotel rooms for events that they have coming into this, so not through just conventions, but also needs on a year-round basis. In February, we presented to the formal RFP with regards to the project. We've also added engagement with the Chamber of Commerce and local economic development groups to put this stakeholder engagement document together. One thing that'll also be involved with all of this is city coordination. So as we progress forward, we will be coordinating with the city to let them know exactly what is going on. And also, we've had some developer dialogue to express interest, both on the local side, also as the national side. There is some interest, but that's something we will have to approach after an agreement has been signed moving forward with regards to the city. Moving forward, with creating this document, we talk about a clear vision showing this where we want to go, what we want to move forward, the strategic tools needed to make sure that this is taken care of, the market-ready project, and a call to action. This call to action will, we'll talk about an executive summary, project vision, a full write-up on it, Bismarck Event Center, the overview of what's needed, the market deficiency and lost revenues potentially that are out there, growth outlook with regards to trends and what's moving forward, hotel market gap, financial incentives, location advantage, and explore the opportunity of moving this forward. Right?
So all that being said, kind of why are we here? So kind of our quote-unquote ask as a result of this meeting and through kind of discussions with you folks, what we'd like to see is a notice of award for the original RFP to our team, just to sort of memorialize that, and then create somewhat of a memorandum of understanding, an MOU that outlines, the city will allow us as the sort of the winners or the successful respondents to that RFP to start to solicit developers and to start bringing those folks in, vetting those development partners and avoiding the RFP, RFQ process with those entities. One thing that we learned through this whole process, given market conditions and given some other things, it's getting developers to respond to an RFP it's tough. So the idea would be that the RFP is awarded to us and then we can work through the developer side with the city. But anyhow, work through that. We'd like to meet with the city regularly just to discuss any potential incentives, to discuss sort of that whole piece of the pie. It's going to take a team effort to bring this to fruition. And so one of the things that kind of the questions that we were asked as we were working through all this was, is the city willing to put anything forward? What is the city willing to put forward? So what we're asking for there is just conversation, no commitments, just how do we work together to figure out what does that look like and what's out there. We would agree to keep all those discussions private until the city lets us know that it's okay to share those. More of a statement than anything. And then timeline, we'd agree to finalize the development agreement with city approval within 18 months, ideally much sooner than that. So that would be getting the deal in place, getting the developer signed up, financing in place, so on and so forth. Pre-construction design phase, approximately a year. And with construction taking approximately 18 months. A lot of those are somewhat fluffy numbers at this point, just not knowing exactly what the building's going to look like or any of those things, but that's a pretty rough sort of guesstimate. And then finally, the city agrees to require any development partner or the development partner that we bring forward to negotiate with our team first prior to going out to other builders or designers. Fee associated with that is nothing. We're not looking for any sort of financial commitment at this point. What we're looking for from the city is truly that team approach, that how do we get this how do we bring this to life, understanding that there's going to be headwinds, market-driven headwinds, financial headwinds, but how do we bring everyone together to get the best bang for our buck, the city's best bang for its buck, and get this built, within a budget and make sure that it's the right building for this area. All of us on this team believe that this is a hugely important project for this area of the city. It's going to be such a benefit for the event center, for the area. And again, I really believe that this is the spark that could drive. There's Bismarck Industries land adjacent. There's UMary just to the north. There's a lot of area there that can be developed. And we keep hearing that this could be, who's going to go first? And we believe that this is the right one to go first. So with that, I think I'm kind of done talking. Kev, you want to close up?
I want to thank you for allowing us to do this proposal. And with that, any questions?
Commissioners. Go ahead, Commissioner Risch.
Mr. Mayor, I noticed it's only 205 rooms at the most. I mean, if you get a convention, 205 is not a very large number.
It's just a holding spot, Commissioner Risch. This could be bigger. There'll be limits on how high we can build it just because of airport issues, but the 205 was just addressed because it could be larger than that if needed, so.
And there are other hotels in town. That typically happens when there's conventions, but
Without a doubt.
Commissioner Clary.
More of a question probably for Julie or maybe Jason, but with this MOU, the point A, city agrees to allow AP to solicit and vet potential development partners without requiring the RFP or RFQ process. Because of this RFP, is that fully legal? I mean, because I know we talk a lot about like the requiring an RFP. When is a RFP required? Is if we go into an agreement with them based off of this RFP, is that all kosher? As far as like our requirements. Or if you have an answer, that's fine
Well,
too.
just kind of my thought, and you're exactly right. That was kind of my thought is, and item A in the MOU is probably a little bit redundant because, and this is, I'm not a lawyer, but in my mind, the RFP is awarded, the team is awarded, we're bringing on another entity. So, again, I don't want to speak for Jason or anyone else, but that was kind of the thought process there, was that the RFP
Like
is.
you're hiring the team,
Correct.
subcontractors, et cetera, that it's not, that we're not making separate RFPs for the continued process.
Exactly right, yep.
Okay.
Exactly right.
Julie, do you have a take on that for me?
I have a preliminary take, and I'm not going to be held to it
Okay.
until I do more
Deal.
research and then we get more information. So I think it's going to depend on who owns the property that we're building on. And if we have an exclusive development contract with this group, then we could work around the RFP, RFQ process. But we'll have to see what how it finally shakes out.
Okay. I think I would love more information on that from you at some point, just to make sure that we're following all the rules.
Yes, Commissioner. I will add that to my list of tasks.
Thank you.
Other questions? Commissioner Conley.
When you say incentive meetings, are you talking incentive meetings with private entities, or are you talking incentive meetings with the city that includes citizen funds?
With regards to incentives, we're not even at that point yet because we don't know what the costs are going to be or anything. So it would be all the above, but we can't define those at this time because we have no idea what that even going to end up being.
Okay. From my perspective, just to be transparent, if it's private investors or private groups and things, transparency, that's kind of between the person bringing up the proposal or not. But if it's citizens' funds, I think that belongs in full transparency.
Oh, definitely, we
So
agree. Yep.
that would have to be reworded.
Okay.
Other questions? Go ahead, Commissioner Risch.
I'm just thinking out loud, I think we should have as many rooms as possible. I've been to conventions where there's more than 1,000 people, and everybody wants to stay in the convention hotel when you're at a convention. Why do you think it might be necessary to have meeting rooms when we're connected to the event center that's got all kinds of meeting rooms? I mean, a couple of proposals were
Yep.
meeting rooms, and I could see a boardroom or something to that effect, but
Yep.
Good question, Commissioner Risch. What I would say is I would go back, this is stepping back a little bit in history, but I'll use the last master plan that was completed for the event center, for example. That master plan, through that process, identified that there was way more meeting room space that was needed than what was currently available in the event center. It had, at that point, had identified adding on about 10,000 square feet more of additional meeting room space just to accommodate the size of the exhibit halls. And so when we were exploring this option, we looked at what could we potentially put into this development that would help complement with what the event center has. So I wouldn't necessarily look at it as something that's separate from that, but more something that could potentially be available for both entities to utilize in order to maximize the potential of an event, if that makes sense.
Commissioner Risch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jeff, what about parking? Already, if there's a big event, a man that lines up a big group, I'm parking over by Caribou Coffee. So what are we going to do about parking? That's that many fewer spots.
Yeah, parking is going to be a challenge. I'll tell you that whether this is here or whether it's someplace else, parking is going to be a challenge no matter what. We can look at all the other examples that exist in North Dakota that are exactly like this. The Alaris Center is probably a perfect example because it has an attached hotel, a convention center, and a much larger arena. And at this point, they have surface parking, and it's underparked. You're parking in neighborhoods over there to attend an event. So I'm not saying that's a reason to ignore it. We talked a lot about how do we accommodate parking just for the hotel guests, because you wouldn't expect hotel guests, or hotel guests wouldn't expect to, walk from the mall to the building if they had a car here. And so there are some things like that are going to need to be continue investigation and expanded discussion regarding, because parking will be an issue. And I've been around for a long time, and I've heard a lot of discussion regarding parking down in that area. Yeah. So I know that's not an answer, but I totally understand what you're saying.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioner. So a few weeks ago, as Jason said, I talked about us being a little bit more aggressive as to how we handle things in the community. There's one thing in here that I don't see, and I don't see the wow factor. I don't see the hey, I want to stay at that hotel. I want to stay at that place. Mr. Ubel, you referenced the Grand Forks Alaris Center, right? The Candid Inn. Well, my kids have played basketball for years, and whenever we went up to that Grand Am tournament, we booked that hotel a year in advance so they could go to the water park, right? So that's when we did this. This is that's what I was looking for. What's the wow factor? Now, I appreciate all the work that's done, but a hotel and a little bit of convention space and some adjacent property, 6 businessmen within the city could put this thing together and be successful someplace other than on the property of the event center, right? So I don't mind giving you a few extra months, but I'd really like to see the wow factor, because I don't see that in this presentation. Does that make sense?
Yes, Commissioner Zanker, it does, and that's something that hopefully will be, as we vet this out, if that's something that somebody wants to propose and bring forward, that's something we would look at, so.
Go ahead.
One final thing I noticed in our prelim packet, there's versus what we got today, I would not support a TIF, and I would not support a cash infusion that was referenced in the prelim. I get it. We want to think outside the box. We want to do some things. But from those ideas, I was hoping you would bring ideas where you would bring outside monies in to do it.
Definitely.
Because there might be some scenarios that instead of having your group do it, we might as well build it if we're gonna infuse cash to it too. So, which we don't have, by the way.
And that's one thing that'll be defined there is once we get it all pulled together and see the market rates, room rates are going to be a big thing to determine, how the money is invested and move forward. If they get a certain room rate, we're hearing now there's events that go down at the event center where they're charging $300 a night up in the North hotels.
It's only business, Mr. Meggs said.
But that's
It's
what
only
I'm saying.
business.
If you're getting $200 to $300 a night room rates, that's going to make an investor a lot happier coming in with their private capitals. So,
And I think the point there is we have to be thinking outside the box, and I would agree there are probably some non-starters of items that we don't want to do. And I've expressed that also.
And just to be clear too, on the original response, those are really just ideas, it was just kind of a throw everything up against the wall and see what happens, so just clarify.
Yeah, and there's no reason not to put every idea out there, right? We need to, and it's just me, I'm only one vote at this table, but I'll establish the parameters, so.
Commissioner Cleary?
Yeah, I guess to touch on a few things. I appreciate the fluidity of it. Like to Commissioner Zenker's point, I think there's going to need to be further discussions when it comes to incentives, what they are, what they need to be, because I think that there's no reason to take incentives off the table when we know that this is a project that the city is asking for, the citizens want, that we want to partake in, and have a say in the wow factor or whatever, whatever we're talking about. I think, and then to Commissioner Connolly's point, that if we're talking incentives that are facilitated in any way by the city, that those just remain public conversations. I also just wanted to make a point with what Commissioner Risch talks about with size. I think a lot of hotels that are built these days, even convention center hotels, don't have 1,000 rooms, just because of logistically space. To Ryan's point, hopefully this is a domino. I would love to see more hotels, more development, more things pop up in that area. I think that some of that creates your wow factor, your desire to be there. Also, I mean, water park's awesome, but the wow factor to me and to a lot of my friends is more like the Jasper. So I think that there's room, options, and so I like that this stays open-ended when it comes to the type of build that we're looking at and how that's going to get decided and how the incentives work. I think that it's a great starting point, so I appreciate the work that went into it.
Commissioner Connolly.
I concur with Commissioner Zenker on those two incentive items. This has been a long, hard conversation since 2011. Jeff's been around for that. And things is that a few people can make a decision if there's a majority of votes and things, but to get an entire community and an entire region to embrace something, it strikes a lot more potential. And there's some history there that we have to overcome. So the more that can happen, you mentioned in your community engagement with major players in the community and things, those are the people that can afford a lot of things. There's a lot of people in this community that are struggling with the increased taxes over time and they're feeling pinched and they're very, very skeptical. So that buy-in becomes important. I made a mess out of your book over here, but where it says strengthening downtown and economic growth, and I would be thinking it should say strengthen the entire community and region. It should be all of Bismarck. Downtown's a little bit overplayed, and when you see that a lot, that's where the pointing fingers come and the conversation becomes harder. And I'm more of a common person as far as and that it's convincing a lot of the folks that have the resources that I do that I think is important if we're going to embrace big swings, because every building costs a lot of money. Every venture, it's a lot of money, and a lot of other businesses, they come to us every year for tax abatements. So any incentive, they're feeling a little slighted. So all that has to be part of the conversation, in my opinion.
I'm sorry, Jesse.
No. Oh, Mr. Mayor, Commission, guys, I'd be really reluctant to invest city money into the private enterprise because they're competing with other hotels in town. And it's just a fairness issue, a marketplace issue that I'd struggle with.
I can speak to that really quickly, and that's really completely understand and we hear you, right? I mean, that's really the tough part is public funds, private entity, and that's really the intent of that sort of, we call them incentive meetings in the packet, but that's really the intent of that, is to get together and really understand those things, and ideally it is all private, 100%. I mean, there's the best case scenario is that there are no incentives from the city. But until we kind of get things rolling and we really get to meet with you folks and others, it's hard to say.
So if I understand, the request primarily would be we'd engage you for no fee to investigate and try to drive this process and give you as much latitude as we can within whatever restrictions we have to follow from a governmental body standpoint on RFPs and multiple entities. And if you came to us with the home run that it was all private investment and they're going to do this, I mean, that becomes a much easier sell, but am I understanding that's really the request?
You are, exactly. And really the driver of the request is we're looking at probably 6 to 12 months of a lot of work, a lot of resources from all of our groups, which is great, and we're happy to do it, and we're excited about it. What this sort of agreement, and in essence, it's a handshake agreement between our entities and the city, is just that. It's let's investigate together, let's team up. It's going to be a tough pull. I mean, we're going to have to all work together to get it across the finish line. When this originally came out, we had high hopes that we were going to be able to find a developer that was going to dive in, and away we go. Bunch of different reasons why that didn't work, but that's that you're exactly right, Mayor. I'm putting a lot of words together for a yes, correct.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut anybody off, so.
I mean, before we just give the go-ahead with, like the little advice we need, I appreciate that we can continue to have the conversations about incentives, because I don't want to see a project like this go away just because you couldn't 100%. Obviously, it would be great if it was privately funded 100%, but like you said, it's a big ask. When I read through the list of incentives, and because I knew that was going to be a conversation here where it was like, you don't want to spend public money on private things. I think, and are incentives fair? Are we picking people, like that sort of thing? But I think just to play devil's advocate in some of this, every project needs a certain level of assistance, whether it be zero or a lot, very high, and that assistance looks different depending on where you're at in the city. We have funded infrastructure for big projects. There was decisions made at this table about Costco when I wasn't here, roads being built, that we're covering funding to make that, project happen or more enticing to that developer or whatever it might be. It just looks different when you're doing it in an infill way, because you guys don't need roads. You need something else. So I just don't want to fully close the door of what those conversations look like. You can bring things to us and the answer might be no. I just think it's unfair to say, we're no city incentives without looking at what they could be, because I think it's unrealistic to say that we don't provide those for other people in greenfield development. And I want to make sure that conversation still happens if it's needed, and that the project doesn't just die for lack of private fund or lack of 100% private funding, if that makes sense.
It does, thank you.
Okay. I know that we're not all in agreement on that, and so that's why there'll be more conversations, but I just want to kind of say, I think there's a lot of we don't want public dollars to be blank, but we use public dollars for a lot of projects. Just a lot of times it's different types of infrastructure and roads, but they do tend to benefit specific projects that are also needed in this community. So I just want to make sure that we keep that in mind as we move forward.
Commissioner Conley?
Well, one of the big incentives, we'd already talked about it with the other hotels and motels in the community. The natural incentive is that it's attached to the building. So just by location where the events would be. And that gives them the competitive edge over everybody else in the community that is living by those taxes, and they're trying to make it too. Like I'd mentioned, a lot of them come to us every year. The hotels asking for tax abatements. They're struggling, so it's something we need to be cognizant of because they've already invested here.
Commissioner Risch?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just wondering about the time element. You have this 12 months of design and whatnot and 18 months of construction, but we need a partner to begin with. And how long do you anticipate that taking, or who knows? Might happen tomorrow, might happen.
Well, that's why originally it's going to be a 6 to 12 month just determining who that partner is going to be and all that stuff. So this isn't a period that's going to take 6 months and we're going to get moving forward. So there's going to be a lot of work that first 6 to 12 months to make sure we vet the potential developer and make sure it's an approval of the city that they approve of that developer. I mean, so that's something that needs to be worked through prior.
So the 12-month and the 18-month, that's stacked on top of.
Right? Yeah, this is going to take some time. Yeah.
But you're right. Ideally, a month from now, and we find the perfect partner, and away we go, right? So that's, yeah.
We've had, like I've said, we've had conversations with in-state developers that there may be an interest, but they want to know how this thing progresses going forward. We've also had conversations with a developer out of Texas. And one thing you'd like to hear is he said it's got to be 600 rooms. So, you know, that's what he does, is hotel and convention centers.
Just a rough guesstimate. I'm $200 million project?
No.
No, I would anticipate somewhere in the 60 to 80, someplace in there. Jeff?
That's easy. I'm glad to see that smile on your face.
But a discussion came up earlier today when we were all talking prior to the meeting. What would it cost to build the event center somewhere else? 500 million is what came up like that. But being a person that was born and raised in Bismarck, I would love to see a Fargo Athletic Center up north with a water park hotel right next to it. That would be awesome. I'd like to see
That's probably our
the,
next, like,
you know, I'd
honestly,
like to see the county fairgrounds. I mean, we've been dealing with those people of the whole equestrian center out there. It's kind of like what Commissioner Cleary said. It's got to be all the above. Bismarck, to get to the next level, needs to be all the above, not just one or the other.
I think we're in agreement on that, too.
Yeah.
So what do you want?
I-
A motion
Well, I
with
think we need to-
exclusivity for a set amount of time?
I think
We're not
that's-
out anything.
No, we're not
right?
out anything.
At any time, this thing could just not proceed. Don't take that wrong, but I'm trying to, right? Got to think for, like, government for a little bit here. So, optimistically, I want this thing to go because I like this. I like to see the first domino fall. So is that fair? Because we didn't put that in the RFP. That's more of a legal question for Julie.
Or do we give direction to staff to figure out how it can be done? And
Right.
stay in compliance?
Correct.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, that if we have consensus, we want to move forward with it, can we have staff make sure that all of this makes sense? So specifically want to make sure that we're clear on that 2A about the RFP and whether it all makes sense logistically for us legally, and go from there.
Or a motion to direct that probably is appropriate, actually, but.
We did have comments from some of the developers that we talked to on the hotel side. They will not do an RFP.
That's right.
I would move to have staff kind of delve into the legalese of having that memorandum of understanding, and as long as it works through legally and makes sense for the city, that then we would move forward with that from there. At no cost to the city.
Second.
Do we have further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call roll.
Commissioner Connolly?
No.
Commissioner Cleary?
Yes.
Commissioner Risch?
Yes.
Commissioner Zanker?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes. It's the only item on our agenda, so our meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.